If we can start with introduction, then you can introduce yourself.
Yeah, hi everybody. Welcome to today's show. My name is Ndanu Mwasia. I'm a teacher by profession. I teach at Machakos. A mother of two.
All right. Reverend Tina.
Our show. My name is Reverend Eric Moshina. A trained high school teacher and then moved on and currently pastoring at PCA Nema Church in Boston. I look forward to having a great show. Welcome all of you.
All right. And Liz.
Okay, my name is Liz Love, and I have a whole lot of titles. I'm an evangelist, that's where I would want to begin. And my background is psychology, and I'm a registered nurse. That's what currently I'm doing. And welcome to the show. We look forward to having a great time discussing the issues at hand.
All right. And of course, I'm Monica Kariuki, and we are actually also live on Echo FM. Our very able producer, Dorothy, from Kenya, she is actually, she's put us live on radio as well. So we have listeners that are on radio. So anyway, let's get started. And I wanted to start with you, Reverend Moshina. Today we need to talk about issues that we as African people, honestly, we sweep under the rug, and we find it difficult to talk about these issues. Yet teenagers are sexually being abused. The last time we were here, we talked about the crisis of pregnancy. So this is not something we can ignore anymore. And this is not something that is a taboo that we cannot talk about anymore. So let's just start by identifying what is a legal age for these girls to consent to sex. Reverend Moshina.
Well, that's a pretty great question. The legal age in Kenya is 18 years. It moves from country to country, and Nigeria is known to have the lowest legal age, which is 11. And where we are in Massachusetts, it is 16 years. So the legal age depends from which country you are speaking of, and again, from region to region. But specifically in Kenya, the consent age is 18 years.
Okay. So Liz, let me come to you because you have that background in psychology. Why are we saying that, or why is it that a legal age is 18? Can you explain to us, from your background, help us understand why is it that an 18-year-old is a person that can be able to make that decision, and why somebody younger than that cannot make that decision?
I think, at the age of 18, it is known, that we are able to at least a little bit understand about consequences. And that is at the age at which, many nations, like Reverend Moshina said, think that somebody can be able to determine what is good for them and what is not good for them because of the consequences. Below that, it's very hard for those young people to know, what does it mean when I do this today? What does it mean for me in the future? And so I believe that that is the highest level at which we can decide. Somebody can think about what is going to happen to me tomorrow if I make this decision today. But that doesn't mean because it's 18, people have to make decisions. We know for us where we come from. At the age of 18, I still did not know what I wanted to be, where life was getting me. And so I was still under my parents' watch. And I still think just because it's the legal age, it does not guarantee, or it does not give people permission to make decisions that are just, that will change your life so drastically. And so I just believe it is, a legal age is just a number, but that does not give you the power to be able to make those decisions. I still think that people need to wait a little bit until they're like 20 something, because it is really sad that until you're about 23, you still do not understand literally the consequences that some of the actions that you make or decisions that you make are going to bring into your life. And so it's good to wait. Just because you're 18 does not give you permission to go out driving or to go out doing all the crazy things that the young people today think, because I'm 18, I can do whatever I want. No, that is still not, to me, it's still not mature enough.
Okay, all right, thank you. Daniel, did you have anything to add to that? You're seeing these kids every day. Do you think a child below 18 is able to make a decision when approached by a grown-up?
Well, to add on to what Reverend and Liz have said, like Reverend said, the legal age in Kenya, which actually we call here the age of maturity, is 18. And personally, I think at 18, these kids are not wise enough. They have not matured to be able to make some independent decisions, because you find that it's at this age that most children are actually getting into trouble. They are making the wrong choices. So I think the legal age of 18 is not very appropriate.
Yeah. Okay. Actually, these kids nowadays, I guess they don't have as much responsibility as we did growing up, and their thinking capacity is not the same as we were growing up. But I want to touch on to something else. Nowadays, I'm not sure if it's because of social media, or we are allowing these children to watch too much TV, whatever it is. But the last time, again, we talked, we said social media is here to stay. It's up to the parents to control how much their children are going to be on social media. But something that we notice is that with teenagers nowadays, this sexual talk is normal to them, and it's not as strange as it was, when all of us were growing up. You wouldn't have wanted people to know, at that time, if you were having sex, that you wouldn't have wanted people to know that you were having sex. And now, it's really normal. We've seen videos of teenagers having group sex. Why do you think that's happening, Dani? You're a teacher.
Yeah. Well, to contribute on that issue of teenagers and like you've said, what we've been seeing on social media, it's true. There's a lot going on social media. Now, I think the major reason is that kids we've exposed kids to these gadgets. Our children have the phones with them. Our children have access to the internet. In the pretext of that, they are revising. Now, the major mistake here that we parents are doing, I could say, is that we are not supervising our children very much, because you'll find that one clip that I saw, actually, there are so many circulating that we've lost count. There are some group from 3 children from a town that I'm not going to mention on air, that were found taking the parents, when the parents go out, these kids are invited, the friends to their house. So I don't know where they got the money. Maybe it's the money that we give them for pocket money. So these kids had a lot of drinks there. They were listening to music. They were dancing very provocative dance moves. And they were there, live on recording, them having sex. So I think we've given our children lots of freedom, such that left unsupervised, they are going crazy. They are going out of hand. Things are getting out of hand. There was also another clip of siblings. These were even, I wouldn't say they're teens, but the kids are the exposure to internet. Like we said, internet is here to stay. Internet is good, internet is very bad. It can be like a time bomb. It's a time bomb, I could say, because these kids are watching, they are getting access to the porn sites, like we mentioned last time. So once they get to the pornography sites, they just see these people doing things, and they want to do what is being done there. Why? Because we've not sat our children down to tell them the safe sites that they should visit. We do not monitor, we just let them free. They just come and say, Mom, I need bundles for my phone. You give money, they buy the bundles. We are not monitoring, we are not making a follow-up, because group sex is really getting out of hand. They are hosting parties in their homes, the parents are not there. And by the time the parents come back home, the house is clean. So you not even know, when you come, you don't even ask, you find them there, very innocent. So I think we've given them lots of freedom, I could say. They are not monitored, we don't want to know what they're doing, and we do not have somebody responsible, unlike there in the US, where we've had that children under 18 cannot be left unsupervised. Here, we leave them. There's no supervision, so nobody knows what they're doing when you're away. So I think the issue of the video clip circulating, I could say, in a way, it's a failure of the parents. We are not monitoring what our children are doing when left unsupervised.
Okay. Reverend Moshina, in America, you can, even if you buy you have 2 sons, even if you buy your sons a laptop, we have what is called parental control. On televisions, you can put parental control. So are we saying that in our children's gadgets, that is in Africa, do we need parental control so that we can control what they can have on their phones? Because they're basically using their phones. It's not TV or even laptops, probably. It's their phones, because having a phone in Kenya nowadays is, almost every child has a phone now, So what do you say to that, Reverend?
Again, Monica, I don't believe in controls. Personally, I don't believe in controls. And as Teacher Nganu has said, if we don't influence our children, influence them positively, influence them how to take advantage of the social media, we will be authoritative parents. And Monica, the dangers of authoritative parents, authoritative kind of people. And that means I will only do this as long as you are here and as long as I'm serving you good. The moment we parents and we, the community, abrogate our responsibilities, we are not committed to the gift that God has given us, the gift of a child. It is up to me, the father and the mother, to show direction to the child. I believe in that. And that is exactly what the Bible says in Proverbs 22 verse 6. Train up a child. If we train up our children, from 3 years, 6 years, we train our children to write. I believe we can train our children to grow responsibly. And the moment we take up the issue of our sexuality as if it is something that can be spoken at a particular age by a particular group of people, then we are losing it. Monica, with my 2 sons, I started teaching about who they are as young men when they were in primary school. Up to now, Monica, I have never been ashamed of what I did. And I'm not portraying myself as the perfect parent, but I'm a believer of influencing your own children. When we control the programs, we cannot control who they are with. We cannot control at what time they are watching their videos and their games. But the moment we open up their mind to this understanding, you are who you are, then I believe our young children, our young teens, they can grow to become like you and like me. That is my firm belief.
Liz, I see you agreeing with the Reverend.
Yes, as he was talking, I was just thinking about that word control, because it's sometimes it does give people some peace when you think that your children are not going to get into certain places, certain sites on the phone or on the TV. But as the Reverend is saying, some of us grew up in some sort of control. And as he was speaking, I was just thinking about my life and how I grew up. And so we were not allowed to, watch a TV because, my dad was like, you need to be reading, studying, So it's not like we could not afford a TV, but he could not buy us a TV. And I remember as we continued to grow, and then our neighbors had a TV, and there was a way that we could sneak in and go watch that TV. We did everything to actually sneak and be at our neighbor's house. And the moment that you got to that age, I will not say that it was 18 in our home because it was not, but there was a certain age that you knew that your parents are not going to determine where you're supposed to be. So what happened to me as a person, I may not speak even for my sisters or my brothers, but to me as a person, I felt like, we were denied a world out there and it was time to explore. Now, when I started exploring, I did not have what it takes to explore because nobody taught me. And that is the danger of control.
Yeah.
And that is why me and my children, I have 2 young kids, and I have bought them phones, and I know many people will, disagree with that and all that kind of stuff, but I want them to be exposed to these things, and then we can learn in the exposure, because I think it is more powerful than when you deny people things, and then when they get it, they become almost uncontrollable, and the sad thing is that you don't teach people how to engage in the world, and then you're shielding them from that world, and eventually they're gonna get into that world. So we are talking of social media. You cannot take it away from your children. It's going to be there one way or the other. Why don't you be the person to teach them? And so I totally agree with you, Reverend, and I was just, my heart was burning because I know what it does when we just decide to control things. But we have to have the wisdom and to be able to balance, because not everybody can be there with their children. Some people have to go to work and all that kind of stuff. So those controls are important, but make sure that you're training your children. Make sure that you're exposing them to some of these things. When it comes to sexual matters, talk to them. It's in the Bible. And last time I said, the best thing about the Bible, it doesn't hide anything. There are some 3, women that I know in the Bible that sex is actually very explicit when it talks about them. Like how they were taken advantage of. One of them was raped, Tamar, and we know by his own brother. If you're learning that with your children, they get to know what are these things. What does it mean to sleep with your own people? And that is when you train them. So let us think about, even when we are thinking about those controls, sometimes they will work because you're not going to be there 24/7 with them, and some parents have to work, but be the one training your children.
So I want to, what I hear you guys talking about is parents, and I want to read one of the comments here. Kamau Maina, he says, true, the problem is parental failure to monitor and influence their children. And I think I also see here, Millicent Nyamon says, parents need to take time to train their children. So parents keep coming up. So I remember when I was growing up, and going back to what Reverend has just said about control, my dad was really lenient. I mean, he used to say he doesn't want to see boys out there who are gay, like throwing stones so that you can come out. He used to say, I want them to come here. Tell him to come here. Tell me that he wants to see you. You'll go. And honestly, my sister and I would just, whoever we wanted to talk to, we would just used to tell them to come to the house. They came to the house. Hey, can I speak to Nyambura? My dad would call you. You're being called. Because your dad just called you to go see somebody, you're not going to go too far, because he's allowing you to just go. I mean, he used to say, what's wrong with talking to boys? But you have to know to what extent, and so for us, or, for me, I didn't have that, want to even sneak out of the house because, I had big brothers. If I needed to go to the club, maybe I would tell one of my brothers, take me. it was doable, but I want to ask you guys, do you think that the parents nowadays are too lenient to where they've loosened up too much, that the children are running loose? And I want to go back to you, Reverend Moshina, because you've talked about control.
Yeah, thank you again, Monica. Last night, Monica, I was in the house with my wife, and our last born was there with a neighbor's daughter, and they were seated on the same couch, and we were there, and we were talking, and we were deliberating. What does that mean, and what does that? It shows that you have trust with your own children. Most of us parents have failed to show trust to their children. You bring them up and delegating some responsibility. To come to the question about the leniency of their parents, I don't believe that parents are lenient. My take on this is, how did you become a parent? You yourself. If you are not prepared, if you are not schooled on this issue, that is where the failure is coming. And Monica, many a times, and I know many of our listeners will now say the church has failed. We'll keep, pointing fingers. This one has failed, and this other one has failed. When it comes to that personal life where I'm going to become a parent, I'm a boyfriend and a girlfriend, that is the most hidden and protected part of our lives. And you only discover that you are becoming a parent in many cases by default. And I'm sorry for this, Monica, when I mean by default. The correct terminology is gun marriages. Gun marriages are marriages where we were not prepared. We never planned for it. We simply became a father and a mother, and therefore we started living together. And therefore, the moment we take up the responsibility of, I am a mother, I have given life to my daughter and to my son, I will nurture that life to the fullest. Remember, the Bible says in John 10:10, that I came that they may have life, not partially, not a 3/4, but they should have the full of it. So sex is a gift from God, and it should be enjoyed fully. So allow me to finish by saying this. You lack understanding in matters sex, in matters parental, what happens? The consequences, the decisions we make will be affected by our lack of understanding. And finally, the third thing out of it, we don't have understanding, we make wrong decisions. The character is now what we are now speaking about. Teenage pregnancies and
That's true. All right, everybody, guess who just joined us?
Hey,
Monica, welcome.
Monica, okay.
Monica Kariuki has just joined us. Monica sent us a message. She said she was driving and she drove so fast just so she can join this conversation. Welcome, Monica.
Thank you, thank you.
All right. So
I hope you can get me clearly.
Yeah, we hear you just fine. So just to catch you up on where we are, Monica, we've talked about the age, legal age. We've talked about, parental controls, and now we're talking about our parents nowadays too lenient to their children, that their children are now running loose. What do you say about that?
Kindly, pardon, I didn't get your question. I think there's a challenge on my end.
Okay, so I'm saying, like the rest of us growing up, even you growing up, your parents were probably stricter than the parents nowadays. So are the parents nowadays too lenient to their children? That's why maybe our children are acting the way that they act?
Excellent. That's a very good question, Monica. For sure, we may not, the parenting style that was there in the past is slightly different with parenting styles today, because basically our parents were more or less authoritarian, where what they said had to be followed strictly. That has since changed.
Yeah.
And possibly the parent of today, we may not conclude that all of them are not following up on their children, but quite a good number. We have quite a good number of parents that have become permissive, parents that are uninvolved in their children's life. Remember, one of the parenting principles is that a parent should be involved in their children's life. And when a parent is not involved in their children's life, the challenges we are facing today are very common. So we can literally say that as much as the parent would want to have a complete feast of their children, there are so many factors that may not allow this 100%, but parents have 100% role. If parents take their role completely, be involved in their children's life, get to know who are their children's friends, get to know what happens with their children's phones, get to know where their children go, and they set rules and limits at the home setup, then we may not have the challenge we are having. And I can agree with you that the current parent is having a serious challenge parenting this 21st generation child. More or less because of the child exposure, and more or less because of technology, and even because of, you know, in the past, children had very many mentors. At the same time, it was a community, it was a communal duty. Discipline was a communal duty. A child belonged to the community, and the community had a role to ensure that the children were well disciplined. Right now, this is slightly different. You will go to question a child's behavior in the presence of their parents, and their parent may pick a quarrel with you. So we may say, much as we want to say that the parents of today have failed, not all have failed, but quite a number are not involved in their children's life. They do not even know their children well. We have very many parents who live with strangers. They do not know their children. For example, in a school setup, a child misbehaves and you summon the parent to school, and you find a parent convincingly telling you, my child cannot do that, particularly when it comes to issues of drug. So that simply means this parent does not know the child. So that is very common.
Yeah, and you're right about that, because I have a friend who is a teacher, and she tells me the same thing, that, you know, when the parents come to school and, you know, the teacher is explaining what the child has done, and, you know, the parent absolutely does not believe that that's what their children are doing. So just for the sake of time, let me move on to something else. So as much as we have seen, you know, videos of teenagers, you know, having sex circulate in the social media, have we gotten to the point that we can now say that these kids are going to have sex regardless, you know? And so are we to that point to just start saying, maybe we should teach them how to have safe sex, you know? I mean, what do you guys think about that? And Danu, I know you had reservations the last time, so I'm posing this question to you. Danu, can you hear me? Okay, Danu can't hear me. Let me just go to you, Elizabeth.
Okay, so we are talking about abstinence. That's a that's a tough one. You know, I would answer it on the view of an evangelist, and I know that this would be weighed, and I want people to weigh it, you know, depending on you know, your perspective. There is something that Job talked about in the book of Job, chapter 3:25, and he said, what I feared the most actually happened to me. And so when it comes to, you know, just saying that because our young people will have sex, then we should maybe, because what I have seen and what I have heard is that there are parents out there who would, you know, allow their children to have, just some controls that they can not be pregnant, you know, like you as a parent decide that for your young child because you're afraid they're gonna have sex anyway. to me, that is actually opening up to or operating in fear. And what you're afraid of will actually happen. If you go take your child out there to have those things done to them, and I really don't want to mention them because I know a whole lot of people do it. But if you go to, if you take your child to that kind of an operation, or you give them pills or whatever they do, and most of them I know it's a surgical, that they go and have their children done some stuff so that if they have sex, they're not gonna be pregnant. I mean, that is, to me, that is opening a door to allow your child to actually say, I can have sex. And that's what I said, you know, in the beginning, let people weigh on that. For me, I do not believe in it. I still believe that we can teach our children abstinence. I know it's a long shot, but I know we have to start from who we really are. And I think going back to what Reverend Moshina said, you know, at the end of the day, you're not gonna parent by default. You have to honestly become such a parent who is intentional. And meaning, if you're intentional, you're gonna start early. You're gonna think about, you know, this is a young woman that I'm bringing up, or a young man that I'm bringing up, not just for right now, but for the future. That means you're not gonna set them up in fear. You're not gonna raise them up in fear. You're not going to be thinking, because there is so much in social media, there is so much, you know, talk about sex, everybody is doing it, then my child is going to do it. If they know that you think that way, actually it's going to happen. But if you actually just tell them, you know, and you allow them to know, we are in this together. The world is going to portray itself like this, but this is what we do as a family. This is our standards. Because I think, and I said it last time, the moral compass in our families have depreciated so far that, you know, children think that they can do whatever they want to do, say whatever they want to say when they want to say it, and the parents can just take it. And I'm like, no. We have to have structure in our homes. You know, everybody can be doing whatever they do. And my children tell me that sometimes, you know, so-and-so is doing it. And I say, that's okay. I mean, I cannot decide what they're going to do in their family, but in our family, this is what we do. You know, this is our standard. And I believe that, you know, as the Bible says, well, however you train up your child, even if they depart from it, they will still come back to it. And so to me, I believe in abstinence, and I pray to God that we can go back to that, you know, the moral compass where we praise the right things, you know, instead of, you know, thinking that if somebody is so out there, morally so open and doing all kinds of things, then we praise that because that's what the social media sometimes is doing. That is not a choice for our children. That is not where we want to go. And I believe that there is another beauty when we bring another, you know, this other perspective, that we can stand, no matter what the world is doing, we can stand on the right things. We can stand on the things that, you know, actually the Bible talks about. And I know in this 2020, in the 21st generation, talking about the word of God is not, you know, is not what many people believe. And yet when we look at where we are all coming from, we grew up from the church. We had some, you know, grounds that were given to us that have made us to be the kind of people that we are. Even though we defected a little bit, we still came back. But today it's like we're just saying, you know what, everybody has a choice. You can choose whatever you want to choose and do whatever you want to do. But as parents, I still believe that we can go back. We can go back to the drawing board.
Okay, so to you, Monica. So then why do we have sex education in schools? Because we're teaching them how to have sex, safe sex. We're telling them about condoms. We're telling them about diseases. Are we trying to prepare them for when, you know, it's time to have sex? And going back to your clip of, you know, wait until you're of age because you can't be, you know, whatever you said on your clip.
Yeah. Ideally, the essence of sex education is to help children make informed choices when they become adults. Remember, we are discussing here teenage sex and sexual abuse.
Yeah.
So here, it is agreed that a child between 13 to 18 years, according to us, is still a child.
And the law.
And they can, yeah, but their body development is ready for sex. And because their body is ready for sex, that's why the education comes in to show them, yes, you are ready for this, but this is not the time for it. That's why it has to wait, so that you help them control their body demands, because they have feelings and their body, all the organs are ready for this agenda. That's why the sex education comes in, so that these children can make informed decisions. And in fact, we empower them on how to say no to advances on issues of sex. We also show them the consequences of sex, because 1, 2, 3, 4 things can happen. For instance, if it is teenage pregnancy, these are the consequences, so that the child can make informed decision. If we now bring in a shortcut that we are giving up as a society, our children cannot abstain. Our children cannot follow guidelines. Our children cannot follow rules that are set for them. Our children cannot emulate us, cannot listen to us as parents. And we are bringing in now a shortcut that, yes, we have seen that the society have refused to tailor-made, or the society has refused to show you enough example to follow. And now we allow you children that you can have sex. And because it is impossible for you to abstain, now it is okay for you to use contraceptives. Let me tell you, Monica, we lose it like a society. We lose it like parents, that we are no longer under control. What shall we tell God? We lose it completely. What shall we tell the generations to come? If our parents made it, if for us, we made it, why should they not make it? When it comes to sex, to sexual intercourse, it's a choice. Before you go to it, it's a choice right from the mind. You know, there's the aspect of the society about casual sex, whereby children can even pop into it without having a second thought. But let me tell you, an empowered child will pause. Is this right? Will pause. What will be the consequences? If this has been reminder, in fact, I would go to what the Bible says in the book of Deuteronomy, I think chapter 5. Moses told the children of Israel that these laws I'm teaching you today, you shall write them on the doorstep of your house. You shall tell them to your children when you rise up, when you sit down. So in Israel, the agenda of teaching children instructions of God, they were to be reminded when they wake up. That was the first agenda. Before they sleep, it was to be written on the doorpost of their house. And even I love what Moses says. He says, and even on your gates. So write it in everywhere. If that becomes our way of doing things, that as parents, we are telling our children these things without shying. And let me tell you, Monica, there is some weight when the parent speaks to their children about issues of sex, and not wait for somebody else or somebody else's version, and not wait for the teacher. There is a lot of weight when a father gets a girl and tell her girl, my daughter, you are beautiful. My daughter, you are great. My daughter, you will be loved by men. And this is what will happen. I know your body is ready for sex, but these are the reasons as your father, I feel you should wait. When these things are done at home, they have a lot of power. Monica, I disagree. I completely condemn. I'm in disagreement. I'm in support of what Nyambura is saying, that we cannot give up and say it is over. Let me tell you, if we tell children now, because you have been unable to abstain, now you can freely go to the contraceptive way. We lose it. Because what is the basic, what is the reason that we should have sex in the first place? So we open a door that sex is for enjoyment by anybody, but that's not what God intended. Sex is to be enjoyed in the unit of marriage. But all said and done, I don't want us to close our ears that these things are happening to our children. What I want to say is that the only solution is empowerment, education. Empowerment, education, empowerment, education. Nothing more, nothing less. Let us tell them, and then they'll be able to make a decision. The other thing, I strongly feel we need to have collective responsibility. Because still in the society, you could have empowered your children enough as a mother, but your child interacts with another one who has not been empowered enough. And this can influence yours. But now the problem is, some of these things these children are doing, for example, you had a scenario where children, I don't know whether it was in Eldoret, they were in a room ready to take videos, porn videos. And in the rooms where this was to happen, it was a rental for a person who is well known. This person knows I have some teenagers in my rentals, and he's quiet because he has been paid. So that's where collective responsibility comes in. That when you see teenagers doing things that are not right, even if you're not the parent, we still have some authority to tell them this is not right and it will not be done in my presence. I strongly feel that we have contacts of people in authority who can come and take action. But we cannot hold our heads like this as a community and say that ni watoto wa siku hizi. It is the children of today. No, we do not have a generation of today. We have the parent of today. If the parent of today gets a footing, the child of today will be better.
Amen.
Yes, Monica?
Yes, I'm seeing Danu and she's telling me she cannot hear me. Danu, can you hear me? Danu cannot hear me. I don't know why. I don't know what happened. She may have to get out and come back. Reverend Mushina, can I have you respond to that as I figure out why Danu cannot hear me?
Well, I'm in total agreement with my colleagues, Monica and Liz. They have said it exactly as it is. But again, Monica here, so that we are not perceived as people who are hiding under the cover of the Bible. Every family must define itself. Every family must define itself. They must choose who will be the point of reference. If God is the point of reference, there is nothing like safe sex, my dear Monica. How can there be safe sex with the teenagers? The law does not call it safe sex, it calls statutory rape. You know, Monica, it's just like saying a doctor who is in his second year, he can go out there and we can say practice safe medicine. This is a quack. We are honored to have teachers here who have gone to the highest level to qualify. And therefore they are authorities in their areas of work, including yourself, Monica. We have been given gifts in the name of sons and daughters. How can we abscond our duty and refer to them and hand them what we are now referring to as safe sex, when we know even in the statutes, they are not yet, they are minors, they are called minors. They are not competent enough to make decisions pertaining to themselves. And therefore, it is good when I speak here, the authority that I share with Monica and Liz and yourself, and I believe even Dan, is the direction that God has given unto us. And the Bible says, take it and you shall live. So that is that choice. On the other side, there are parents who simply feel that the freedom, including freedom of sex, is a part of, they are part of their cup of tea. So I think, I don't know, maybe there could be another forum where I could as well hear what is their point of reference so that maybe we can balance this. Otherwise, what we are saying, we need to prepare our young daughters and our sons to play their God-given roles as beautiful mothers, who God has given them the ability to procreate God actually has delegated, from initially God formed the first man. From there, he delegated, he gave that responsibility of procreation to humanity. So we must take up this responsibility. We must honor it. And again, we must give, to the society competent parents, who can bring up children who will play up their role in a godly manner.
Mm-hmm. I don't know what happened to Danu. We've lost Danu for a little bit, but we'll go ahead and continue. So let's talk a little bit about social media. Some of these girls, they have pseudo accounts so that they can be allowed to probably chat with grown-ups. So some of the girls are the ones that are actually luring, and because they probably do not put their correct ages, or we even have men that will talk to girls and lure them and probably even take advantage of them. So what is the role of social media in this, and how do we educate our girls to prevent them from even having these pseudo accounts so that they can be safe? And I want to go with you to you, Louise.
Okay, so as we continue to talk about this social media, I do believe that, as we said, you may not so much maybe prevent your children from getting into it, but you also can have boundaries on where they can go, what they can do with their phones. Right now, I have she's gonna be 12 years old pretty soon. She doesn't have even WhatsApp. She has a phone, it has internet, but she doesn't have WhatsApp, no Facebook, no such stuff. Whenever she would need to check on something, maybe about, family on Facebook, she uses my phone. So my thing is, we still have, like we are saying, when you're talking about the idea of being connected with your children or being part of their lives, it's that daily connection that allows you to not demonize something, like the Facebook and all that, but allowing them to, develop in age and in maturity before they can get into certain sites. And if you have to talk about, what it means to have pseudo accounts or what it means to, for people talking to you, then you need to do that. Some of the things that I think, because we can't just talk about social media. We have to talk about what you're training your children when it comes to sex. Often I teach them about their private, places and who can, even talk to you about certain things or even touch you certain places. If you have that kind of a conversation, it's not so hard for you to talk about the issues that you see on the Facebook, on the social media. It's not so hard for you to do it. But what I want to say is that I do know that it is true, that there are some young girls who are going on the social media, they're acting like grown-ups, they're actually talking to older men. It is a truth. I mean, it is a fact. And there are men who are doing the same thing. But at the end of the day, as we continue to talk about this, it is what you're going to train your children. You cannot decide for the whole world what they're gonna do. But if parents are actually going to be part of their children's life, then some of these things are going to be curbed early. You're not gonna be, I tell my children, you know what, I am able to look at your history of what you're watching, even on the internet. And it is true. Sometimes I just go there and look at the history of what I've been watching, and some of the cartoons maybe they are doing, I'm like, I don't think this is really very safe for you. But if you're not having that with your children, and let me say this, why these children are doing this without their parents knowing, we ought to be very careful not to criticize so much, because there are parents who work. Maybe their jobs, it's 8 to 5. They work outside the house. And so the children, especially now, when we have had this, pandemic, the children are at home raising themselves. And so they go into all these places. I do not believe that there is a parent who sets their child to fail. That is not, in any parent's heart. But because of, the situations that are at hand, that actually they don't have that time to be there and watch whatever the children are watching, these children are able to get into those sites. Now, for me, I believe that, even if you're working outside, let your children know that you can see whatever it is that they watch. Let them know that you have a responsibility. You're the one who bought the phone for them. You're the one who has bought the TV for them. Let them know that you have a word or a responsibility on what they are watching. You cannot just let your children just be there watching whatever they are watching, raising themselves, and I know you have to go to work without really giving some boundaries. And so I believe, for me, I believe this is true. I know that, it is happening so much. And people, by the way, somebody was telling me that these young people are being stolen and people don't even think about this stuff, especially here in America. People think that, children just going onto these websites, it's safe. It's not safe. There are men who are acting like they're something else, and then they are luring these girls and taking them for, sex trades. And it is a reality. And that is why sometimes when we are thinking about the things we are talking about, it's a matter of even life and death. There are people who have lost their children and they don't know where they are, and they are being traded in this world for sex. And so these things are serious. I know they are real, but I do believe that parents need to get back with their kids and say, you really need to know that I'm watching what you're looking at. You cannot go to certain sites. You cannot do this, and it doesn't matter. Sometimes, I've had to say, because I'm your parent and I know better, and I know, in this today's generation, children don't want to hear that. But we got to tell them. We don't have to be like our parents who decided, they were like, whatever they said is what we needed to do. We don't have to do that, but we can balance. Our children still need to know that our voice matters because we are their parents and we are responsible for that. God has given that to us. We can tell them sometimes it will not make sense for you. You will not have to understand everything that I'm telling you right now. But you're not going to do this. You're not going to go to these sites. You're not going to watch this kind of stuff. Right now is not the time. Your mind has not developed to a point where you can understand these things. But in the future, we continue to talk. So I believe that we need to get back to the game as parents. Those people who just think, I bought my son a phone so that I can be able to call them when I'm at work. Just go in there and look at the history. You can be able to look at that. You can see the history of what your children are watching. And I know sometimes they delete it, but there are ways that we are able to get into these things. So get involved, get involved.
So I want to introduce to you, Monica. I think I've seen Danu is trying to come back. She's almost here. So Monica, let me ask you, some of these girls, and I want to talk more about, what has become culture nowadays in Kenya. There's this idea of, I'll get money from a man, and there's this idea of, like women now, they're looking for, that guy that has money, a guy that's going to buy them a car. And our children are actually learning this thing, and, they think that this is the trend, and that's why we're talking so much about social media and creating pseudo accounts. So what is your input, when it comes to
that? Thank you, Monica. Before I respond to that, I want really to agree with what Nyambura has really said in regard to social media. But I'm responding to that shortly. One, social media is here to stay, and technology is here to stay. And the technology and even that social media has a lot of good side. It has a lot of positive side. And one of the greatest things that we advise the parents to do, please, just as Reverend Mushina said, let us identify what are our family values. Because if the values are there, then the children will be guided on what choices to make. Number two, when a parent is buying a child a phone, I assume you don't just go pick a phone and then come and give your child, there must be rules and norms and expectation in regard to that phone. And when it is done, when the phone is being given to the child will not feel bad that, Mom, you are too nosy. You want to get every detail from my phone. For instance, if I give you an example with my son, is when who is 14 years, when I bought him a phone, condition number one is that, sorry, the condition number one
is automatically.
Oh, sorry.
Mike is picking up something else. Go on, Monica.
Sorry. So condition number one was your phone should not have a password. It should be accessible to us. Number two is that these are the sites I feel are not good for you. We even had to put an age limit, especially when it comes to YouTube, what he can access. But all said and done, when that was done, when the phone was bought, today, if I demand the phone from him, that's not an issue, because these are issues we agreed before I bought the gadget, before I gave him the gadget. It narrows down back to the parent. And when the parent sets the rules and the limits and have the boundary, that will be done. And we must consistently remind our children that we are not doing things because so and so are doing. We are doing things because these are the values that we appreciate as a family. These are the values that we stand for as a family. Now to the next question, Monica, you have asked on how people are given, particularly the society is setting an example to the children that there's a shortcut to life if you get a rich man, a man who can sort you. We go back to the aspect of empowerment. Remember, parenting principle number one says what you do matters. What we do before our children matters, because it is setting, we may set a precedent to them that if you want to be successful, if you want to do well, you must be attached to a certain man who need to support you. And we must encourage our children on the aspect of working hard and the joy and the fulfillment of when you use your own money, your well-earned money. We also need to tell them that any money that comes easily, definitely it's also misused. Anything you have not earned out of your sweat, anything that you have not earned honestly, most of the time also goes very fast because you do not have pain while spending the same cash. And I think this is a serious challenge we have today. Not even talking of the teens. Look at how many young girls have remained single. They have already qualified to be married, but they are, is it, do we call them standards or expectations of the man they want is too high. Because key number one is a tall, handsome, financially stable, and highly financially stable must be driving. You know, a lot of our girls are setting very high standards. And when we were growing up, there was that aspect our parents would keep on telling us that you can have a man start from scratch, build each other, and become great. That story has lost popularity. The girls of today is, I want a man who is already established. Yeah. Monica, tell me, where will these men come from? So what will happen? These girls will be forced, because they have the essence of living a social life, living to impress, living a life to impress people. They will be forced to take people who are financially stable, who can sort their issues. And that is exactly the example that we are setting to our young girls. So we go back to, let's set the correct example to our children. Let us completely remind them as parents that there is power in hard work and there is no shortcut in life. Any man, and let us also notify them that men have nothing free to give. No man gives anything free. They have an expectation, and they will misuse them and make them a trash and drop them. And tell me, we must tell them, which man would want a girl who is uneducated, a girl who has nothing to deliver? So they must give priority to what is important and urgent now. And what is very important and urgent currently to our children is their education. So when that is done, then they will make informed choice.
Well, you did mention men. So because we have a man in here, let's
Yes.
have him speak for the Reverend Mushina.
Well, Monica, I don't want to fall to that. I want to appreciate each and every one of us and the contribution that is coming. But they are genuine men. They are real men, and they have got something to give. And they give a comfort. No, they are men who are encouragers and they are partners in life. And if our ladies are taught, and the way we teach our young men, don't take advantage and don't allow yourself to be taken advantage. There is this lie, this kind of a lie. And you, Monica, know very well the challenges we have over here. Ladies who came into marriages, they got men. Out of this expectation, we are having serious challenges because I feel this is not the kind of a man, this is not the kind of a lady that I wanted. They have money, they have everything, and the same children or teenagers we are talking about. They are now the victims of failed marriages. So it is a very vicious cycle. And we really have to be, have a very clear understanding of who we are. And Monica, I wanted to say that there is a program that we do carry around that is known as School of Marital Wisdom. School of Marital Wisdom. And the School of Marital Wisdom, you don't enter that when you are preparing for marriage. This is a program for any person who is a human being who feels that in the days to come, I will need to live that kind of life. So part one of the School of Marital program is preparing and pointing and putting the beacon. So when you have a man and you have a lady, now both of you come for program 2. Program 2 is where now you are prepared mentally. And again, it reminds me of something that was said, and I believe that was not what was meant. When we talk about sex education, it is not about teaching anybody about sex, how to have sex.
True.
That is, it's not, and many people feel that what is being taught in school is about girls having sex. That I don't think there is anything, it's far from the truth, but it is simply equipping the hearers with the right tools so that they can make the correct decision. So I believe, and I'm a strong supporter that families, families where there is a man and there is a husband and a wife, they can bring the very best, regardless whether they are social media. Social media is a tool. It's just like the way we get into planes, to make our life easier. So there is nothing wrong with the social media. There is everything wrong with us because we are not training our young girls and our young men to take advantage. Remember, Monica, and you know this, there is what is known as sex slavery. These are people who have been taken advantage of a promise of the so-called good life. There is what is known as a child trafficking. And even here, people have learned how to use guns from the social media. So from the social media, you can take advantage and learn every evil. And remember, we did say that the values that we inculcate in our children, they will live with them. So the moment we train our young, and again, this is an anomaly. We start training our young girls and our young men when they are already at that age. I would think that if we start teaching at a very lower age, so that they grow knowing. The other day, we were having a program in our school and we asked our mothers, how many do talk to their children about the issue of HIV and AIDS? And one of the mothers said, when she talked to the girl who is about 17, they ended up fighting. Why? Because the girl accused the mother of suspecting her of having men. So, the intention was good, but it was introduced at a time that the daughter feels that the mother is so nosy. So she is suspecting every man in the name of Peter, John, and who is having sex with her. So we really need to establish a point of entry. And once we establish a point of entry, oh, definitely, we shall only exit at exit number planning that leads to marriage.
Janu, I see you're back. Can you hear me now?
Yes, I can. Sorry, my laptop decided to disappoint me today, but I'm using the phone now. I'm back.
Okay, we are glad to have you back. Do I need to catch you up where we are, or you know where we are?
I missed out on that, but I'll catch up as we continue.
Okay, all right. So let me get to something else, because I can see that time is not on my side right now. So let's talk about family structure. Because family structure can be complicated. Abuse by close family members or friends is rampant, but a lot of times the victim is unwilling to come out. They're scared of shame, stigma to the family. So how do we encourage families to support these girls instead of victimizing the girl? So how do we even go about talking about it so they can be uncomfortable, and not even accept unwanted sex? Then I have to go to you because we just got you back.
Sorry?
Did you hear my question?
Come up again, sorry.
Okay. So
the family, yeah.
Yeah, I'm talking about family structure.
Yes.
So I'm saying family structure can be complicated. Abuse by close family or friends is happening. Right? But most of the time, girls are scared to even say that it happened because, I want to say that in our society, we have the tendency of blaming the girl, that why did you go there? Asking those questions instead of actually empathizing with them at first, and trying to find out what happened. So how do we teach our girls that A, you can say no, and B, me as your mother, you can trust me, or even as somebody in the family, you can trust me, you can come and tell me that unwanted sex happened and I'm not going to judge you. How can we talk to them?
Now, well, thank you. Now, on this issue of family structure, I could say that the girls are scared to come out because of the one stigma. Now, in most cases, you'll find that when these girls come out to talk maybe to a parent, they'll be ashamed because one, the blame is likely to fall on them. Reason being, they are going to be accused of having allowed for this to happen. So I think for us to support the girls, we should, one, as parents, sit our girls down first and talk to them. The best measure to this, my take on this is that we should try and prepare our girls, sit our girls and talk to them so that we could avoid this. Because in the first place, if this doesn't happen, then the girls will not undergo this very traumatizing time. Now, one, we've seen a lot of cases where the girl has been abused, either sexually molested by the biological dad, or maybe a brother, an uncle at home, because these girls are left, most of them, now that we come back to our question where Reverend Mushina said, we parents have failed in talking to our children about responsible sex, about dangers of exposing yourself to these. So when this happens, the girl is afraid to go out and talk because the blame always comes back to this child. The parents are also ashamed of the stigma from the society. For example, if this girl has been sexually molested by an uncle, let me give an example, because in most cases, it could be an uncle or a cousin, and she comes out to speak. The parents now will be very ashamed. Now, if these things get out, what will people say? What will the community say? So you are forced to keep quiet. And if you go out to talk, then you are punished. So for the girls, it's a very trying moment. And I think we really need to find ways to help our girls get over this, because most of the girls are home suffering. We had a case, for example, in one of the schools, let me not mention which school, where a girl, she was a class 8 candidate, fell victim of such. So when we made a follow-up, we realized that the person responsible for this was the uncle, sorry. Now, when we tried to talk the girl to call the parents in, she was reluctant, because she said that she had kind of told the mom, but the mom had forced her to keep quiet and even threatened her. Sometimes when these cases are taken out, the parents are just settling it with maybe some of the administrators. They give money, and the case is just, the case just goes, it just ends like that. So the girl is left suffering. Then at home, all the blame falls on the girl. So there's a lot of stigma, and most of these girls end up hating themselves, and they kind of end up even making more mistakes. So I think we need to talk to the girls and tell them maybe where they should go. Maybe go to confide in a teacher, confide in a pastor, or even a neighbor who can help her get the right action taken against that.
Okay, thanks, Nana. So let me come to you, Monica. Because I do these shows, I do hear from a lot of people, and most of the time people will confide in me. And I've had, cases of some people. Actually, one person told me that I was pulled into a room, and, she was just passing by, and this girl, she told me, I screamed, Monica. I heard people passing by, women were passing by, and when finally he was done with me, and he let me go, all these people that had me screaming, this is a survivor telling me this. And she said that when they saw me come out of the room, she was all laughing at me. So she became a laughing stock in that village. This is how we victimize these children. She's a grown up, but she was a child at that time, And so it goes on, it's like, and I'll come back to you, Elise, after this, so you can explain psychologically. But why is it that, a grown person will see a child being pulled into a room, and a grown person cannot even take responsibility? Yes, it is not your child, but you're responsible of every child. You, as a grown person, you should have made a decision to save that child. Why is it that we as African people don't see, and I'm going to say African people because in America you're going to get, in Kenya, you're probably going to sit down with the kids and talk about it. And it really angers me when I talk about, this, because that's a child that was abused. So your input to that, Monica.
Thank you, Monica. Your point is really sensitive, because what happens is that in Kenya, let us say in Africa, there is an aspect like it's a taboo, like the blame goes to the mother. There's also that aspect like the blame goes to the mother if my children have not been able to make informed decision in regard to sex. But remember, here we are talking of abuse. The child has been abused.
Yeah.
Just recently, it was in the news. I think it was even in the paper. I think last week, where a young girl has been sexually harassed by a grandfather and an uncle. The grandfather was buying the girl some sweets. Then the uncle said, your grandfather was not giving you enough. I'll be buying you some soda. The mother, I want you to tell me where this mother was. Having not noticed my child. You see, a child who is sexually abused will have an emotional signs. There will be signs and signals to the mother to notice my child is not okay. So point number one, let the parent be on the lookout to check on their children. The child might have might feel shame, might shy. Sex comes, issues of speaking about sex when it comes to children comes with a lot of shyness. Children have, basically, I think Nyambura should agree with this. Psychologically, the child is not happy going and saying, you see who you are in Iguza. No, they have some shyness. But the parent, the caregiver, has a role, if they are involved, to look on the behavioral changes in their children. Number two, let the parent become friends to their children. When your child is your friend, they will tell you anything. You will discuss anything with your child if you are friends. Number three, as much as we want to empower children at a school setup, remember right now children are not in school. I think we should have serious campaigns. Is it on our newspaper? Is it on our print media? Is it on our electronic media, on the radio? Saying it in very simple terms, that you as a child, if somebody touches you in a way that makes you uncomfortable, report to your mother. If your mother is not around, report to your auntie. If the auntie is not near, report to anybody who is very close to you. This, the way they advertise things here in Kenya, that is the same way they should give preference to information to children in all languages in regard to how they can report when they are sexually abused. That is instrumental. It is very important. Number four, our administration, especially local administration, the sub-chief, the chief, the people who are on the ground in the community must not bury their head in the sand. These things are happening. The Nyumba Kumi initiative should be working, whereby as in a village, in a setup, we have one of us who takes charge of the others. We have a serious Nyumba Kumi initiative in Kenya, where there is even an elder where people run to. Let these elders be devoted and committed to the cause. Go to the household that are under you, the 10 of them. If there are issues that are happening, a child may run to you, you know, and that is possible. At the same time, currently, right now, the Ministry of Education is talking of how they can reach out to children in their village setup, whereby so that children do not miss out on what they can be reminded, they can be put alert in terms of education, because a mite that is not being actively involved, I think there can be a lot of problems, and children can even forget their names. So the government has come up with an initiative, possibly by September, whereby teachers are called upon to volunteer to bring children together in a village or in one setup, or the teachers professionally qualified, and teach them. Let the integration and empowerment of sexual abuse be given a lot of preference. And remember, you do not have to tell children when you are teaching them mathematics that I'm teaching you about sexual abuse, but you can integrate. If you tell them that Kenya has over 5,000 girls, 20% of these girls are sexually abused every year. You're doing a calculation. When doing it, you will mention what is this sexual abuse. What should be done to lower the rate of sexual abuse? And don't forget, you're teaching mathematics. Everybody must own the process, but more or less, when a child comes out, there's a lot of we have counselors who are employed by the government in all districts. There are places where children can go. Once a child speaks out, so that the stigma does not affect the child's self-esteem, because it is likely to come. The child will not feel happy playing aloud with others, and they know that the child was sexually abused. The child will have a challenge going out. Let this child be taken to a counselor. And then the counselor takes the child through the process of how can you overcome stigma. You have undergone this, but you can overcome by this. So a parent who does not have the financial strength to source a counselor, there are those counselors by the government, and they are found in our district headquarters. They are there. There is a children's office where where the child can get support. At the same time, where this child is taken to the hospital hospitals have counselors. Let them not just treat the child in the hospital and assume that has been done. Let them go a notch higher. Take the child to the counselor for purposes of psychological healing. And I think if that is done, stigma will not be a challenge.
Well, I mean, sometimes a counselor is not affordable, and that's why, some of the children, they will get abused and nothing happens, actually doesn't even see a day in court. So that's probably why. But I want to go, because of time, I want to go to Reverend Mushina. Reverend Mushina, do you think religious leaders, even these chiefs that are having to listen to the cases of abuse, are our leaders equipped enough, educated enough to actually, to listen to these cases or even to counsel?
Thank you, Monica. I really want to appreciate that question. And again, allow me to say one or two things concerning what my dear Monica has said. When you see a father who is abusing his daughter, and the mother is nowhere to be seen, please understand already the father is already done with the mother. The mother has already been abused completely. And at times, the mother has already disappeared from home. So the mother has no way of helping or intervening with the daughter. And that is why we are talking here, but we are talking about the serious evils happening in our society. And the children are, in fact, in most cases, on their own. This Nyumba Kumi initiative, it's something that it's something to be lauded and something to be appreciated. I want to go to Danus village. Who are the members of the Nyumba Kumi initiative? They are the same clan members. They are the same family members. They know each other. They will connect. They will save one of their own. So this Nyumba Kumi initiative has its own limitation. So these are some of the evils that are following our young children, and they are so much entangled in evil upon evil. When now we come to the issue, are these people in a position to help or to intervene? Monica, I want to say this. These are people with the guns, but they have refused to use the guns. They are using sticks. Who cannot see who is that father and who is that mother? Which school does he need to be taken to appreciate the evil that is being perpetuated against our girls? Ignorance. They are simply running away from their responsibility. The laws are there very clearly, Monica. Very clearly they are there. And the chiefs and the Nyumba Kumi people have their mandate. In fact, the other day, the president, I think it's the president or the minister, Matiang'i, will say, within a given area, any chief whose jurisdiction a girl gets pregnant will be taken to jail. So the regulations are there, but the fact remains, we are a society of tokenism. We want to help one of us, so we can, that child can be compensated with a chicken. That child, a goat can be given, to the members of the clan, so that something can be, we can cover that silly mistake. So I believe, I don't know how we will be of help at a time like now, because the Penal Code stipulates so clearly from the Victim Protection Act number 17 of 2014. It states so clearly, once this kind of act has been reported, that child should be removed from that vicinity.
that home.
Yes, the child should be removed and there should be protection homes. Just like when the victims of the tribal crashes in Rift Valley, so that they can give their witness, their testimony at the international court, they had to be relocated. Because it is so easy to threaten the girl. So easy. And therefore the girl will be taken to the hospital when it is already too late. It is 7 days are over. And by the time they report to the police, evidence has already been compromised. So the first instance is the moment a case has been suspected. It is
picking up noise somewhere else, or phone or something.
Can you hear me now?
Yeah. Okay.
Okay, so we are saying once a case has been reported or suspected, because it is just like asking the victim to report her case to the hyena, and the hyena are the ones to decide the case of the goat.
Yeah.
This kid is supposed to be removed from the vicinity, taken to a protective house until this child, or this, I'm calling this girl a child.
Yeah.
We bring in someone like Liz to help the girl with the mentality, and she's taken over the process. We still have a long way to go.
Liz, very, very quickly, please, in very few words, tell us
on that issue.
Yeah.
Okay, so what I'm gonna say is it's a little bit very personal. I've authored a book called Behind the Curtain, God is Working for You. And one of the issues that I've mentioned there is the issue of, abuse within the family. When there is that abuse that happens and you cannot talk to anybody. So what it is that it's because of the culture that we live in. That for one, those kind of things are easily, they easily happen, that somebody within your family will take advantage of you. And then the next thing, because of the same culture, we cannot talk. A girl is not able to talk. But the other thing that happens to the girl is that you feel devalued.
Yes.
Your value goes down. You have issues of low self-esteem. You feel guilty. You feel like you're the one who caused whatever happened to you. And so it's almost impossible. On my case, it was impossible for me to speak. Because again, on the outside, your family looks very amazing and very nice. And so you cannot just, I don't even know that there was a way that I could have been able to speak until I was a grown-up. And even when I'm a grown-up, when I decided to speak about it, the first time I spoke about it, it was not taken easily. And, it had taken me to heal fast as a person to be able to speak on this issue. But so many girls that are suffering today, they don't have the opportunity to do that. And I do believe that the one thing that we all have to do, and that is what we are doing in this show, and I thank Monica so much, is that we have to talk. We have to talk, because that is the one way that we break the stronghold. Because as Africans, we have a certain stronghold that we know, and Reverend is talking about it. We know who the hyenas are, but they're the same people who are making rules and laws and judgments. And so where are you gonna go? It's almost like there is nowhere to go. I want to be very, very, just straight to the point. Just say we need to speak about these issues. No matter how hard it is, we need to speak. People need to write books. If you cannot speak, write something. I know there are millions of people who have gone through sexual abuse in their families.
Abuse.
If people can talk, And if that is, I said, if God, this is what you've given me in life to talk, it's still hard. If you can hear me, I still try to safeguard my words very much. But that we need to break up, because when we break up and talk about it, that I have gone through it, somebody else does not have to go through the pain that I've gone through for them to be rescued. You know, another young person doesn't have to go through that. We need to have openness in communication about sex. My parents never talked to me about sex, never. And I believe that many of us, you know, that was not a topic that we would talk about. But I believe in the society that we are living in today, we have to. We don't have a choice. The social media is there already, you know, teaching us, you know, teaching people what sex is all about. Some of us learned it the hard way. Our innocence was taken by a neighbor. You know, and your mom is the one, or somebody sent you to your neighbor to do something, and somebody took advantage of you. That's my life. I gotta talk about it. And the more we talk about these issues, the more that I believe that there is going to be healing. We may not have the specific answers, but I'm telling you, in this, education comes in. Somebody will grab something that one person said in this kind of a forum and run with it. The government needs to be part of this. And you know, you said something so amazing that, you know, we need to take, if somebody is a victim, they need to be taken away. Because if they don't feel the safety, they can even change the story. If an uncle raped you and you start telling your parents and they don't believe you, you know, or if they believe you a little bit and then before, you know, you go to the court, they're telling you, no, we cannot have our name, the family name, going into the mud, the story changes. So they need to be taken away for a time. And I believe that this is where our nation is gonna have to go. You know, where we have homes that can actually house these victims until justice comes. So I have, that issue is very personal, you know, when it comes to family structures and what people can undergo, you know, within a family, and we have to do something, because I know there are people who are still suffering today.
Thank you, Liz.
Well, Monica, can I say something small on that?
Before we came on today, I was thinking about something. Before I came to the US, I went out with a friend of mine for 10 o'clock tea. We went to a restaurant. So my friend's boyfriend at the time was a lawyer. And so he took us for the 10 o'clock tea. And the discussion, so we were asking him, you know, about him being a lawyer. He was a new lawyer. And he was actually laughing, and he was telling us the cases that he likes to take most, and he knows he's going to win, are rape cases. Because he was saying that I just bring the girl to the stand, and then I ask the girl, oh, ati alipushika alafu akafanya nini, and then she's going to shy away. She's not going to say exactly what happened, because you're making this girl relieve everything that happened to her. Imagine. And so because it's so difficult for this person to relieve everything that happened to her, case is dismissed. And so back to you, Michelle, when you're talking about, you know, these are hyenas, you know, that are actually, you know, making the case for us, or even, you know, like listening to the women. These are hyenas that we are going to. And as far as the chiefs, some of these chiefs are not even educated. And we expect these chiefs to listen to these cases and tell us what is going to happen to the girl, what is going to happen to a man that has assaulted the girl. But then I want to go back to, another point. How is poverty contributing to this? Because like you were talking about, Reverend Moshina, we are a culture of talking. You know, because, you know, this man has raped your girl, you know, so you're, as a family, you're going to be given cows, as a family, you're going to be given money so you can be quiet. And, you know, but you will take the money and you're not even thinking the consequences or even the repercussions of what has happened to this child of yours. You know, how this girl now is tormented the rest of her life. You know, so if we can think about what poverty does to these families that are accepting tokens, you know, if I can go to you, Monica.
Thank you, Monica. Yes, sorry. Thank you, Monica. I think poverty is also a major contributor to the aspect of teenage pregnancy and teenage sex today. I'll give you an example with something that has happened just near here in Nyahururu at a place called Moiga. So where you find quite several girls have become pregnant over this corona period. And then one principal of a certain school purposed to bring all the girls together. And when she brought the girls together, she asked them, what is the major challenge? What is making you be lured by men to sex? You see what the girls said was, unajua, sisi hatuwezi pata pesa ya pad. They are not able to get money from pads. And so these men have known there is a gap when these girls have a challenge when it comes to their menses. And when they do not have the pads, the men are telling them, I can give you 200 to get the pads. And then they are taking advantage of the girls. And for sure, poverty is really contributing to the teenage sex. Because when the child is not able to live up to a certain standard, but can get money from a man who can give that money in exchange for sex, that may not look like a challenge to the child. We go back to still another example where a child was sexually abused, and they decided in that village we can agree, and then the family, I think, was given 14,000, and they said now if we can go under the water. Poverty is a great contributor. It is a great contributor to issues of teenage, to silence when it comes to abuse, because the abuser, if he has some financial strength, this thing can, and that narrows down to the issue of corruption in Kenya, that when you have money, you can use your money to silence the voice of the victim. And that voice of the victim doesn't go very far. So because poverty is there, one thing that requires to be done, before the closing of the school, the government had already released a lot of cash and had distributed pads to school. And you see the schools closed indefinitely. So the sanitary are in offices, they are closed somewhere in schools. So we would still urge, and there should be a voice that in all these primary schools nationally, these pads had been given free by the government, a lot of them, Monica. If the head teachers of this can be given a directive to gather the girls back to school, give them, possibly we can save a few, if not all.
Yeah.
Into it because of the issues of pads.
Wow. What's going on? Danu?
I think.
Danu, can you hear me?
Yeah. Yes, I can, Monica.
Very quickly, can you just tell us how poverty is contributing?
Can you hear me? Okay, I can hear you now. Well, to add on what Monica and Reverend Mushina have said, first maybe Monica missed out on this one of the pads. I think Monica missed out because I think 2 days ago the ministry issued a directive where the school heads and principals should see how the. Yes, can you hear me?
Yeah,
yes.
I think you're not clear. I think your mic has a lot of noise.
No, it is okay.
Yeah.
Can you hear me now?
Your mic has a lot of noise.
Really?
Yeah. Let me go to Reverend Mushina really quick, because we really do not have time now. We need to wrap it up. Reverend Mushina, can you just say how to contribute?
Yeah, I really appreciate what Monica has said. And can you hear me?
Yeah.
Yeah, thank you. Now, what I was saying is that, let me say something, just one thing, that poverty is taking the guardians of our girls away from home. The mothers have nothing to prepare, and therefore they are going farther and farther away from home so that they can get something to bring home. And when they are away from home, these hyenas have advantage. So you can see the cycle of poverty. And again, the lure of money. You know, again, it comes in because if the girls had the resources to buy their necessities, they would have no reason to wait upon, you know, the so-called angels to come and be of help to them. So again, I really appreciate you have a girl and all of you were at that age when the body was demanding to be provided with sufficient food. And these girls are going maybe with only one meal, or maybe they go for a day or two without a meal. Surely that's a big, big reason. And we have no excuse. You know, we are simply allowing the girls to be grabbed by the hyenas. And again, this is something that we cannot blame the kids, we cannot blame the parents, we cannot blame the society. It is at a time like now, you know, and this is what Liz Nyambura says, it's a time like now, a program like this comes up so that it can prick the minds of men and women so that we stop talking about the victims and we start talking about life worth being lived. Yes. And once we do that, I think we all of us will count and we can stand and say we played our part. And I think that will help us in one way or the other. Again, Monica, allow me to say something that Monica said concerning the girls and the hush. We can't leave the boys out of this. Before the sex abuse takes place to a teenage girl, remember it started a long time ago. In schools, the boys abuse the girls because of who they are. They point out, look at what is in front of you. You know, the girl is already dehumanized and she is made to feel that she is worthless and she is a tool. And therefore, even when a boy runs after a girl and brings her down, the boy is making a point. You know who you are. I am the boy and I am the man. And therefore, the girl from the beginning, you know, circumstances after circumstances, you know, if you were blessed to have, like you are growing a little bit bigger, you know, boys will come kicking your butts. You know, and simply you are abused because of the body that God has given you. This attitude that is with our boys, this is what brings the girls to that state. Utadu, you know, where will I go? And this is the same attitude with our fathers. This is the same attitude with our uncles. And this is the same attitude. And you know what happens? People are being told, you know, if we go to the court, we will abuse, you know, unafanya familia yetu, unaharibia familia yetu jina. So what that happens? So Liz, you know, Monica and Danu, you know these things better. You know how men and girls, it is not at the top, it starts from standard 3, standard 4, and girls are completely dehumanized before they are sexually abused.
Okay, so back to you, Danu. Can you hear me now?
Yes, I can. I don't know, mine is okay. Monica, put yours on mute. Put yours on mute, Monica. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
I can hear you now.
Yeah.
Yeah. Now we are still on the issue of poverty contributing to the issue of, yeah. Now what I could say is that I was trying to answer Monica before the mic went brought up a lot of noise. Now the government on the issue of pads, I must say that the government is really trying, because before, like Monica said, before close of schools, they did distribute a lot of pads to the children, and the pads are lying in the offices. Now 2 days ago, I was telling Monica, maybe she missed out on that. They send out a circular asking all the school heads to make sure that they reach all the girls and all these pads get reach to the girls. Now, I think the key point here is, like Reverend Mushina has said, the issue comes back to us parents not talking to our kids about say what to Monica could call sex, because I think to many people, we are taking sex as a taboo. The topic of sex is a no-no for many people. They do not know the age to start. And like Monica, like Reverend Mushina said, sorry, we should start right at a very young age. What is there? We need to use what we call age-appropriate language. If I'm talking to maybe, let us say, a 6-year-old, I'm not going to use the same language when talking to a teen, because the problem is, most of you, like you'll find how this starts is at home. We have a girl here, and then the uncle holds a gun, and then asks the girl to sit on their laps. Now you don't know what is happening there. So I think we should tell the girls, if anybody, do not allow people, don't sit on other people's lap. And if this happens, do not let people touch your private parts. Let them use that language. If maybe use a song, or even try and point to the areas that should not be touched, because it all begins as a failure of enlightening our children on what is to be done and what is not to be done. So let us use the age-appropriate language. Let us sit our kids down. Our kids are very bright, and that is why they are playing as games, because if you don't teach them, then the society, like Liz says, the society will teach them. If you don't teach your child well, I could say, someone said this, sex is just like technology. Sex is like fire. It is a good servant, but a bad master. What we need to do is guide our children to understand what the appropriate age, the appropriate time. Now, the question here is, they should ask themselves how to, like Reverend Mushina said, sex is a gift. But when do you use it? With whom and how is the questions that we should teach our children. Because if we don't tell them, do not, we only, most of them, like Liz said, our parents never taught us about sex. Some of us fell victim, some of maybe relatives. Some of us, like many people are fallen victim of sexual abuse by either relatives or neighbors. And they would maybe shy, because if you talk about it, you're going to get punished. So if we tell our children, you see them, I think the mistakes we parents make is that we do not prepare ourselves on how to talk to our children before we bring this topic. It's a very delicate and sensitive topic, as Liz said. So we should first let maybe, like, if you realize that your child is involving themselves, is indulging in early sex, premarital sex, first sit them down. You just come with a cane and you start shouting at them. If you do this, then they are not going to tell you the truth. So it's important to know, why are they doing this? Where did they learn this from? And then get them to trust you. The key thing is trust. Do your children trust you? Can they confide in you? Are you going to call their names? So let us try and have that friendly atmosphere with our children. Because if we build a trust with our children, if we make them see us confidence, if we do not blame them, why did you go doing this? I think they are going to trust us more. And in case anything happens to them, maybe if you're going to the shop and maybe a neighbor called you and asked you to give you this, then they'll come running and tell you. But if you don't talk to them, they are going to get that sweet, and the next thing happens, and this neighbor is going to threaten them, or maybe even give them a lot of goodies, and they're not going to talk. So I think it is good to build that trust with their children. Then they'll end up telling us everything that is happening to them, and then we'll not get to this issue where our children are falling victims of sexual abuse from either relatives, our friends. Also, it is very important to know the people, maybe your neighbors. Talk to your children, and they're really going to get out of this problem.
Yeah, thank you. Guys, I really have to, but you come up with some good points, and talk about age. We can't be letting girls sitting on an ankle. It's your 10-year-old sitting on her ankle. That's a really good point, because I've seen girls that just sit on their ankles. They think it's just learn when your children are grown for certain behaviors. And also too, you talked about trust is really important. You know, for your children to know that they can go out there, they can do whatever it is that they have done, but they can come back and tell you. They trust that you will listen to them, and that's how you build relationships. So I want to give you like 30 seconds, each one of you, to just give a word of advice. Seriously, nothing more. Don't talk too much. We have Reverend Moshina and Monica, you know, and then Liz. You guys are church people. When you get the mic, you just want to talk. But for real, right now, 30 seconds, just a word of advice, and that's Liz. I'm going with.
Okay, let me just get done with it. Okay, let me say this. It's been so amazing to be part of this conversation. Thank you, Monica, so much. And my final thoughts would be, you know, based on the issue that was the last thing that we discussed about poverty, and say that, you know, poverty, when you're poor, you become desperate. And when you're desperate, you make decisions that are very desperate, and that's why you see a lot of children just being, you know, falling prey to, you know, rich men and all the, you know, the money aspect of it. But what I want to say is that poverty is not just about financing. There is the poverty of the mind and the heart. And this would be my final thoughts, that even when we are poor in our minds and we have money, we still make very, very bad decisions. And I think, you know, having said that, I think as children, if we don't feel safe in our families, if we don't feel safe, that is some kind of poverty. You know, our minds are not at rest. Our hearts, we don't feel loved, you know, within our own families. We are in a place where we can fall prey to every Tom, Dick, and Harry when it comes to love. Anything that seems like, you know, somebody loves me. And so you can even have your uncle at a very young age who holds you in a loving manner. So what I want to say is that we need to bring back love. We don't have to have money to love as families. We don't have to have that. We need to bring back love in our families, and that will breed the trust that Danu was talking about, and we can build strong foundations for our children.
Thank you. Danu, your last thought, 30 seconds. You're a teacher too. I know you get the mic and you just want to keep on going. 30 seconds.
Okay, thank you, Monica. Now, I also must appreciate, thank you so much for bringing us on today. It's indeed a very delicate and sensitive topic, but thank God we've gotten to some point, and with time, maybe we'll do better in future. Now, my final say is this. It's, I think, let us parents, let us try and talk to our children. Let our children be able to see us as confidence, not as rivals. You know, some of us, maybe if you're very strict, your children will not want to talk to you. They'll be scared because so many things are happening, and the approach that we take when our children come to us is very important. So let us be friendly. Let us talk to our children about sex from a very young age. Let us talk to them and let them be free with us, such that they feel free to tell us, you know, anything that is happening to them, the challenges that they're facing as they grow. Because if we stay away from them, then they're going to end up landing in a lot of trouble. Thank you.
Thank you. Monica, final thought?
Thank you, Monica. Even for having us, you've been appreciated enough, and I'm still appreciating you for having us. We are really happy that you are a tool that God is using to impact the society through the voice. Mine is very simple, that whoever is listening to us, I want to speak on the power of self-identity. A person who knows who they are, what they stand for, it doesn't matter how poor you are. We were raised in families, but our parents showed us our worth. So even when we lacked the sanitary towels, we improvised despite the poverty. Self-identity is very important to every child. The self-worth of a child. If a child is ridiculed by others, may it be men, may it be boys, because of a girl is ridiculed because of their physical appearance, because of their family background, if they know who they are, if they know their worth, doesn't matter. When I was growing up, allow me give this example. My teeth were growing from outside. I had a very serious challenge. Children would laugh at me. They almost called me a warthog. Then my mother told me, Monica, what is the wrong of your teeth? Me, teeth are for smiling. Does yours smile? Yes, they do. Does your teeth eat food, chew food? Yes. From that day, the following day I went to school, I was a very excited girl. Anyone who laughed at my teeth, I would tell them, do you like with yours? My teeth are good. Do you know I was not taken to any hospital, but my teeth aligned themselves because of the identity and the power that was put in my mind by my mother. I was able to pull my lips to an extent now that my mouth would close well. There is power in self. Parents empower your children to believe that they do not require any approval to any man, so that our children do not succumb. Those who feel like they do not meet the threshold, they do not meet the standard, when they hear a man telling them, you look beautiful, they do not fall prey, because they already know who they are, what they want to be in life, and you do not have to have a parent as a child to become great. As far as you know who you are, you can grow in any environment and still become great. So let us empower our children on self-identity. So we also don't have children who have self-pity and have self-sympathy. I think that should be my cutting short.
Awesome, thank you. So, Reverend Mushina, you said that you have to yeah, so can you hear me?
We can't hear you.
You can't hear me? Oh, how is it starting to act up now?
Reverend Mushina.
Can you hear me?
Yes, we can, Reverend Mushina.
Reverend
He's muted.
are you mute? No. Mute yours. Okay, Reverend, can you hear me?
Yes, I can.
Okay.
What would you like me to do within the next 30 seconds?
I want you to give us, I don't know why it's making noise now. What happened?
Have you muted yourself?
Your final thoughts and prayer.
Monica, thank you for having me alongside this great team. I believe sincerely that we were not simply talking. We were providing solutions. And anyone who cares to benefit, he or she stands to benefit. It is not all lost. We are not salvaging a situation. You know, we are angels and sent by God to speak to his people. Let's remind ourselves and remind our hearers. We may sanitize this act as a sexual abuse. That's so lenient. It is a crime. And the government considers this crime, and anybody who is convicted, it is for life. It is so serious, even as we see it here, even as the girls continue to suffer, even as the hyenas continues to hide in the forest. This is such a serious thing that anyone convicted, it is for life. And I believe our young boys and all the men, wherever they are, stands to gain, to give this world to be a better place for our girls to live in. Again, thank you, Monica, and thank you, our hearers, for tuning in.
And say a prayer.
Let us pray. Jehovah God, in the name of Jesus Christ, we thank you for providing us with an opportunity to speak to the society and to which you have brought us to be. We thank you for each and every speaker. We thank you for the anointing of the Holy Spirit. Lord God, we are thanking you because of our girls. They are saints. Jehovah God, these are sins that you have put in the hands of our parents. We pray for the parents wherever they are. We are thanking for our society. Because, oh God, it is through society that your name is magnified. We bless our Kenyan girls and our Kenyan men. We bless our society. Kenya is such a beautiful land, oh God. May the best come out of this land to the glory and to the honor of your name, oh God. We thank you and we bless you. We worship you in Jesus' name. Amen.
Amen.
I'm not sure
Thank
why
you,
I'm
Reverend.
static now, so I'm just gonna end the video. I think you're on. Your mic is on. That's why. Thanks, everybody.